They'll remember your failures, every misstep, every project that didn't work, every time you tried and fell short. The world keeps score and losses. It's what we do. We remember the stumbles more than the steps forward. But here's what they don't see. What happens in the silence after, when the noise fades, when the critics move on to their next target, when the advice stops coming and the sympathetic looks disappear, when you're alone with the wreckage of what didn't work. That's where you're defined, not by the failure itself, but by what you do in the quiet hours after everyone stops watching. Failure is loud. It announces itself. It demands attention. It's the thing people talk about over coffee, the cautionary tale, the example of what not to do. When you fail publicly, the world feels entitled to offer commentary, some of it well-meaning, most of it useless, all of it distracting. But what you do in the quiet aftermath, that's yours alone. The world doesn't get to watch you rebuild. They don't see the 4 a.m. mornings when you're still thinking, still planning, still refusing to accept that this is where your story ends. They see the outcome, the announcement, the next attempt. You live the process, the unsexy middle, the part where nothing seems to be happening, but everything is. There's a reason introverts understand this better than most. We're used to silence. We don't need an audience to validate our thoughts. We don't require constant feedback to know we're moving forward. The extroverted world wants you to perform your recovery, to share your comeback story in real time, to document the journey, to turn your struggle into content, to prove to everyone watching that you're still working, still trying, still in the game. But real transformation doesn't happen on stage. It happens in the space between attempts. In the moment you decide the failure was data, not destiny. In the quiet morning when you realize the critics were wrong about one thing. They thought you'd quit, and you didn't. Consider this. Every person you admire failed more times than you know. The difference isn't that they succeeded eventually. It's that they failed privately and built quietly, while everyone else was explaining their losses, justifying their decisions, managing their reputation. They were studying them. What worked, what didn't, what assumption was wrong, what variable changed. They weren't performing recovery, they were conducting autopsies. You're building a database that only you can access. Every failure is an entry. Every mistake is a data point. The world sees the final product, the polished result, the overnight success that took 15 years. You're compiling the research that made it possible. And here's what most people miss. That research is more valuable than the outcome, because the outcome might work once. The research works forever. Silence is not emptiness. It's compression. It's distillation. It's the place where noise becomes signal. In the quiet, you can finally hear what matters. The truth underneath the commentary. The pattern underneath the chaos. Public failure comes with a chorus of voices. What you should have done differently. What they would have done instead. What you need to do now to fix it. But when you fail privately, you control the narrative. You decide what the failure means. You extract the lesson without the interference. Was it the wrong approach, the wrong timing, the wrong market, or just the wrong execution of the right idea? You get to run the post-mortem without an audience second-guessing your conclusions. That's not isolation, that's precision. The introvert's advantage is simple. you don't need permission to try again. Extroverts rebuild their confidence through external validation. They need people to believe in them before they believe in themselves. They need the encouragement, the backing, the social proof that says, yes, you should try again. You don't. You've spent your entire life trusting your internal compass, building things no one asked for because you knew they mattered. Working on projects that made sense to you even when you couldn't explain them to others. This is just another iteration of that, another quiet experiment, another private hypothesis, another attempt that doesn't require anyone else's approval to begin. Failure doesn't define you because failure is just a timestamp. It marks when something ended, not what you're capable of, not what you'll build next, just when one approach stopped working. Think about that for a moment. Every failure is a point in time, a specific set of circumstances, a particular combination of variables that didn't produce the result you wanted. It's not a character judgment. It's not a prediction of the future. It's not evidence that you're broken or incapable or foolish. It's data from a single experiment under specific conditions. And the beautiful thing about data, you can run another experiment with different conditions. Silence defines you because silence is where you decide what happens next. Do you stop? Do you pivot? Do you double down on the same path with better execution? No one else can answer that. The world can't vote on your next move. Here's what no one tells you about rebuilding in private. The quiet ones win because they're not playing the same game. While everyone else is managing perception, you're managing reality. While they're crafting the narrative of their comeback, you're actually coming back. They need the story, the arc, the documentation that they're trying. You need the result. And here's the thing about results. They don't care about your narrative. They don't reward documentation. They reward work, the work no one sees, the unglamorous middle, the part where you're just doing it again and again, with no fanfare, no announcement, no audience. That's where results come from, not from the performance of trying, from the actual trying. Think about the last time you failed at something that mattered. What did you do in the days after, when the initial sting faded and you were left with the facts? Did you retreat into silence and analysis? Did you strip away what didn't work and keep what did? That's not weakness. That's precision. The world sees silence and assumes defeat. Assumes you're licking your wounds. Assumes you've given up. You know better. Silence is strategy. It's where you rebuild without interference. It's where you figure out what's actually worth keeping and what needs to be discarded. It's where you separate the signal from the noise. And that process, that can't happen in public. Every master understood this principle. The writer who threw away 1,000 pages before finding the right sentence. Not because the pages were failures, because they were research. The architect who designed 100 buildings on paper before constructing one in steel and stone. Not because the designs were flawed, because they were iterations. The entrepreneur who launched 7 companies before one survived. Not because they didn't know what they were doing, because they were learning what worked. They didn't fail less. They failed privately. Their silence wasn't absence of effort. It was protection of process. They understood something crucial. The world judges outcomes, but outcomes come from process. And process requires privacy. So, the next time you try something and it doesn't work, remember this. The failure is a data point, nothing more. It tells you what didn't work under specific conditions. It doesn't tell you what's possible under different ones. What defines you is what you do when no one's watching. Do you let the failure become your identity, your story, your excuse? Or do you let the silence become your laboratory? Do you perform recovery for an audience that doesn't actually care about your process? Or do you do the quiet work that produces actual results? The world will remember your wins and your losses. They'll remember the big success, the public failure, the moments that made for good stories. But you'll remember the hours between, the quiet rebuilding, the private decision to try again, the morning you woke up and chose to continue when every rational voice said to stop, the work no one saw, the iterations no one praised, the patience no one witnessed. That's where you're defined, not by what broke, not by what succeeded, by what you chose to build in the silence after. And here's the paradox that makes this all worthwhile. The silence you work in today becomes the foundation everyone else builds on tomorrow. The private iterations become the public innovation. The quiet research becomes the breakthrough. The unsexy middle becomes the origin story. But only if you protect the process, only if you resist the urge to perform your recovery, to document your struggle, to turn your rebuilding into content. The work requires silence. The silence produces work. And the work speaks for itself. You don't need to narrate it. You just need to do it. So when the world remembers your failures, let them. When they offer unsolicited advice, smile and nod. When they assume your silence means defeat, let them assume. Because while they're talking about what you did, you're already building what comes next. In the quiet, in the unsexy middle, in the space between attempts. That's your advantage. That's always been your advantage. You don't need an audience to build. You never did. Failure doesn't define you. The performance of recovery doesn't define you. The narrative doesn't define you. The silence does. What you choose to build when no one's watching. That's who you are. Not what broke. Not what succeeded. What you built in the silence after.